The teaching of the Yoga Vasishta is the teaching of self-inquiry. And there probably isn't any reason why anybody should want to pursue this teaching. You need to have that inclination already. You need to have the inclination to know what it's all about. I suppose that inclination is the same as the scientific spirit. Scientific spirit is the spirit of inquiry, the spirit to really understand what's going on. That's probably the only reason why you'd want to pursue this. If you really want to know what's going on, you have this burning inclination. Otherwise, why should you want to pursue it? You're being asked to give up all your attachments, all your notions about reality. Why on earth should you want to do that? Even if you realise that these attachments lead to suffering, you'd pay the price of this suffering to put up with everything that you're familiar with. We're going to have to give up everything at some point anyway, aren't we? At the point of death, we give up everything, we lose everything at that point. So let's just hang on till that time. Why give it all up before then? And I mention this because it seems to me that sometimes the Yoga Vasishta is involved with a bit of hard sell. It's telling us about the benefits of this teaching of self-inquiry, this teaching of dispassion, of non-attachment. And it sometimes talks about the bliss of the Absolute. The bliss of the Absolute is far greater than the happiness of the transient joys that you're going to get otherwise. I would take this bliss with a pinch of salt. It's something which is there in the Indian teachings. It's not there in other spiritual teachings necessarily. The other spiritual teachings, though, might talk about love more. And other teachings, particularly some of the Zen teachings, might say, well, there's nothing special about it. There isn't really any reason why the Absolute should be an experience of bliss. Although, as I've mentioned before, there certainly isn't any room for negative feelings within the Absolute. Sometimes the realization of the Absolute can have the effect of bliss, but it's more accurately described as one of equanimity. The Absolute is equanimous. Realizing the Absolute leads to equanimity, which doesn't sound quite as alluring as bliss, does it? There's the impression that sometimes the teachings are being bigged up. Yeah, that's a terrible expression. There's a sense that the teachings are being sold to us sometimes, so you have to decide yourself. But quite frankly, if you're going to buy into any of the hard sell, then there's probably not much point in bothering with this teaching. You really do have to have the natural inclination to pursue it. Another one of the ways it's sold to us is about all the wonderful qualities as a human being which you'll acquire by following this teaching. And this may or may not be true. One of the things I would suggest, though, is you must be very careful about trying to describe the qualities of an enlightened person. One of the things that I think you could say about an enlightened person is they're usually not what you expect. They're usually not predictable. And this is what we've been having recently. This is what we've been getting recently about the behaviour and quality of a liberated person. So again, I'm not sure how useful that is. I would take all that with a pinch of salt. And now in this next chapter, chapter 75, we get some examples of liberated beings, some actual examples, some of whom we've met before. Vasishta continued, "Very many such liberated beings exist in the universe, O Ram. I shall give you a few instances. Janaka the emperor, your own ancestor, the Emperor Dilip, the first ruler of the world, Manu, Emperor Mandata, who engaged himself in wars, the demon kings Bali, Namuchi, Vritra, who even fought with the king of gods Indra, Prahlada, and Sambara, the preceptors of the gods and demons, as also the Trinity, who are involved in the creation, preservation, and dissolution of the universe, sages like Vishvamitra and Narada, as well as the deities presiding over natural elements like fire and air." And this is another thing this is another way that it's being sold to us, is that it is great beings that pursue these teachings. It's gods, mighty kings, demon lords. They are the ones that pursue this teaching. So I think the implication is these are the examples that we follow. If this is the activity of gods, sages, mighty kings, then this is surely what we should be doing ourselves. There are thousands of others, O Ram, who exist in the universe and who are liberated. Some of them are sages, others are kings, others shine as stars and planets. Others are divinities and others are demons. Now, that's not all. O Ram, there are liberated beings even among worms and insects, and there are stupid fools among the gods. The self is in all. It exists as the all everywhere, at all times and in all ways. So liberated beings even among worms and insects. We even hear about blades of grass being liberated. This doesn't make any sense whatsoever, because liberation is about freedom from your notions of reality. So you actually have to have the capacity for forming notions before you can be liberated. And as far as we know, worms and insects don't have notions. In fact, really, to have notions you need to have a particular capacity for thinking, for language even. So I think we need to be careful about that, about ascribing the possibility of liberation to other beings. What we can say is that everything is the self. So we could say that everything is essentially of the liberated mind.